Welcome to Behind the Business podcast. Each week, I'll be sharing episodes taking you behind the scenes of industry-leading creative small businesses. We'll talk about the real-life, messy behind-the-scenes process of what it takes to build a successful business. Hopefully, each episode helps you combat the perception of perfection within our industry. I hope each episode encourages you to keep showing up no matter how imperfectly, so that you can make your own unique impact on this world. Grab a cup of coffee or wine and let's dive right in. Cheers. All right. Hi guys, I have Amber on today and I am so excited for a chat. Amber and I have known each other since meeting each other through Hope's Mastermind in I think the beginning of 2020. And ever since, we have had so many conversations on Voxer back and forth about business and life. And now I get to work with Amber as a part of her team. And so I'm super excited to have her on the podcast because she is a wealth of knowledge, but also just such a breath of fresh air when it comes to balancing all things business and life. So I'm really excited for our chat. Amber, can you introduce yourself really quickly?
Oh, thank you so much, Manali. That was so sweet. That was such a sweet introduction. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Amber Brogdon Page, and I am a wife and a mama to a toddler, and I have a creative business. So I started as a photographer and did families and weddings, and then I kind of transitioned out of that mostly into a digital space, just because that's, passions change and that kind of thing. And so now I am doing online digital printables, and I'm still shooting some here and there, but I am mostly in the digital space, and I live in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah. And I have loved your printables since seeing them, and just love this new direction that you're taking your business, because it's very Amber. I feel like that's the best way of putting it in. So you guys have to check out her printables. They are the cutest things ever. Everyone needs them in their life. But diving right in, what is one thing that you would tell Amber, who started the business however many years ago it was that you first started? Because it's been a while now.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I started in 2012. So that was way before I had a baby. I had a baby in 2018. So I was at a whole different space in my life then than I am now. But I think the thing that I've learned the most, and that has really stuck out with me, is to not do something just because you think that's what you're supposed to do, or to make other people happy, or people pleasing. I think that throughout my journey, I've really just tried to, do the best I can, of course, in my whole brand to, give the best experience and that kind of thing. But sometimes you get to a point where you're like, okay, what am I doing to make me happy? And, is this what I want to do? So I would tell young college age Amber to just kind of, trust your gut and just go with that. And it really does not matter what everyone else is doing in this space, and try to be different, try to be unique and find your own space.
I have actually a question that I hadn't mentioned before, but hearing you talk, I just thought of this. What is maybe one example within your older photography business where maybe it wasn't something that you see all the other photographers doing, but you made this decision within your business to run it a certain way in order to serve your life and your own strengths and time and energy?
That is such a great question. I really think that for me, I always get stressed out or anxious when I see a ton on my calendar and on my schedule. And so I think that there was this point where I was seeing seemingly everybody post, fully booked to have, 50 weddings on the calendar. And I'm like, that gives me anxiety. That is not my happiness. That's not what I strive for. And for some people it may be what they want, or, what their life and, business model is. But for me, that wasn't something I wanted to do. So I, from the very beginning, made sure that I tried not to overcommit my schedule. And so for me, an ideal wedding, when I was shooting weddings, would be 12 a year, and that's it. And so I would fill, my calendar with other things that brought me joy. But for me, I just didn't want to be, working all the time as far as a service-based service goes.
No, I can totally relate with that. I was very much so the same, where I took a smaller amount of weddings every single year just because that was what I was most comfortable with and felt like I could serve my clients with. And another thing that maybe is like a little bit unpopular in the industry is I never took a double header weekend. Like, have
Oh,
never taken
yeah.
a double header weekend up until this day. I think the like closest wedding wise that I've had has been one that I shot myself on Friday and then I second shot one on Sunday. And I know that there is like maybe a little bit of money lost in that decision, but also a lot of sanity and like
Yes.
space gained with that. And I always used to think like, I'm not sure if this is going to just detract from overall like business goals or like revenue hit for the year, but it was never like I like regretted making that decision at the end of the year. So it's kind of like
Right.
an unpopular take. So I love that you're just like encourage people to, do what feels right to you, no matter what point of business you're in.
Yeah.
Um, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about work life balance. I don't know if balance is the right word, but management of time and energy in the sense of what does that look like for you in this season and how do you kind of keep a pulse on it as you just grow and evolve in your business?
Yes. So the whole work-life balance thing, I mean, I think we're all trying to find like a juggle, and it's like
Mhm.
people ask all the time, like, how do you balance it? And I'm like, I don't, and sometimes my work gets a little bit more of like my attention. And then other
Mhm.
times in other seasons, like it's my family. And I try to do the best that I can do. And like you said, it's always like checking in with myself, even like each week to just say like, okay, what's going on this week? I have a heavier workload. So I'm going to need to be really intentional about setting this time with my family and making sure that I, spend time with Beckett and that we have everything prepped out for the week. So I feel like I have a little bit more control in that side of my life.
Mhm.
Um, but I would say just that, just checking in with myself and seeing what that looks like. But I have full-time childcare. So I try to work during the day, like during my work hours. And then when
Mhm.
I get Beckett from preschool, I try to unplug and be as present as I can be in the evenings. And that's more of like our family time. And so it's not always perfect. There's some
Mhm.
nights that once he goes to bed, I pull out my laptop and I'm just in a season right now of like a weird transitional pivot. And so
Mhm.
it's requiring some time, some extra time from me and some extra energy. But I know that like that, it's all a juggle. And so as long as I keep the important things like up in the air, then we're good.
Yeah, I love that. And I know that you mentioned just like evaluating your like upcoming week. So like when throughout the week do you take time to look at the next week? Like tactically, what does that look like?
Yeah. So I like to do it every Sunday. So
Mhm.
on Sundays, me and my husband will just take 30 minutes or so and look at the calendar for the upcoming week and just see what we have going on in the calendar. And it varies, with our business. And so
Mhm.
sometimes it's like a heavier workload, sometimes it's not. And we'll just kind of plan out what we're doing for the week. And then we will plan
Mhm.
out our meals, and so we'll go
Mhm.
ahead and make our grocery list that day. And I'll go ahead and pick out Beckett's outfits for the week and check the weather and put those in the little organizational, bin.
Mhm.
And just kind of do what I can to make it easier on
Mhm.
myself. So I try to go ahead and pack our bags, like his daycare bag and everything, and have it ready and by the door for Monday and just kind of like reset. I like a weekly reset so I can just have like a fresh start.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like I use the very same term. I kind of do like a reset, but I do mine on Fridays where I'll like put things
Oh,
into my planner for like the next week, like clean up the space.
yes.
And
I
kind of
love
just like
that.
that's also when I do like most of my meal planning. I've kind of switched to trying to plan out general meals on a monthly basis just so that I can look at that monthly list every single week and just be like, okay, here's like what we have kind of planned. Here's what I actually like need to get from the grocery store. So I'll like
That's a
make the
great idea.
list on a weekly
Yeah,
basis. Just because like sometimes I feel like I'm a little burned out at the end of the week of like, I don't know what we should eat for this upcoming
exactly.
week. So like It's really easy because I just like put it on the monthly spread and the Cultivate What Matters like power sheets. Like that's the tool that I
Oh,
use for it. And that was something new that I started this year, but that's been working pretty well. But yeah, I always like love getting to hear about how everyone just like manages like the little things week by
yes.
week. So
I
love
love
that you
that
shared
too,
that.
Manali. I think I'm going to have to try that because you and I both have this shared love of batch working and batch
Mhm.
planning and batching all the things. And so I feel like even if I tried to, go ahead and just pick out meals for the month, that might even work
Mhm.
better. So that's
Yeah.
super
Give it a
encouraging.
try. Let me
Yeah,
know what you think.
I
I
will.
have like a whole meals list just in the back of my planner as just things that I'll pull from, and then I'll go back and look at like previous months of like maybe something fun that we did if I ever
Yeah.
like draw a blank while I'm filling it out. But it doesn't take very long because it's usually just like a rotation of things that I already know how to cook and
Yes.
things that taste good and that we like. So
Yes.
but yeah, let me know what you think when you try it. I'd love to
That's awesome.
hear.
Yes, I'm
Um,
excited. I think that'll work really well.
yeah. Yeah, I like having it batched in that way. I in the past I was like maybe I could make a grocery list for each week, but that was just too much. So I still do
Yeah.
that on a weekly basis. But
Yes.
um I was gonna ask you, diving back into the balance part of things. Next question that I had for you is can you talk about how you have balanced your passion, profit, and time over the years, and kind of maybe what that looks like for you in this season of pivoting as well?
Yes, that's a good question. And I'm probably the worst person to ask about this because sometimes I feel like, what am I doing? Like, I'm the type of person that, like, when I have an idea in my head or a passion, I'm like, okay, like, let's do it. I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so, like, activator, like, I just want to do it. And so sometimes I take the leap and I don't necessarily like methodically plan everything out because that's just how I am, which drives
Mm-hmm.
my husband crazy. But I think that, even when I do take a big leap or change something up with like my passion, I just have to really make sure that I can figure out the profit part and make sure that I, can still bring in money through photo shoots or weddings while I am growing another side of my business. That's kind of what
Mm-hmm.
it is right now. It's kind of a weird transitional period. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that this season does require a little bit more time for me right now. And it's a weird thing because I'm doing so many different things. Like I'm doing family sessions and I'm finishing up with weddings. And then I just launched a podcast and then also this printable. So I have a lot of different things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so just trying to figure out like how to make it all work and how I can pivot out of some things and, get the income going on my
Mm-hmm.
new streams. I wish I could say like that I have a perfect balance, but I really don't. But my time is, just kind of trying to grow this new digital space and but still serving my clients well.
Current
So
clients. Yeah.
it's a
Did
struggle,
you
but I'm doing it. So
No, you're
trying
you're
my
doing
best.
it. Yeah, and you're doing it well too. I feel like I'm in a very
Oh,
similar stage of business, and I was wondering, does it remind you of when you were first starting up your photography business and kind of moving out of your past career? Like, do you feel like it's
yeah.
similar or do you feel like it's different?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it does feel very similar. I was a dental hygienist before I did photography full time, so I would, go to my 8 to 5 dental hygiene job and clean teeth, and then come home in the evenings in the summertime and do sessions and that type of
Mhm.
thing. And then I went from full time to part time, and so it was kind of like slowly transitioning out of
Mhm.
the dental hygiene space and then getting into working for myself. So it does, in a lot of ways, it's very similar. But I was in a totally different season of life. I was, just engaged and then married, and we didn't have Beckett then. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's very similar and also very different because now I feel like we have a house, so we have a mortgage and we have a baby and
Mhm.
daycare and all the things. So a little bit more pressure now, but
So you have experience under your belt this time around
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. And I wanted to get back into kind of like the tactical things that you use on a daily or weekly basis. Do you have like a number one tool that you use in your business or your business and your life? It could be either or.
Yes. So I would say my Simplified Planner by Emily Ley. I know we're both lovers of that. I'm just such a pen and paper type girl that that would be my number one. That's like my lifeline as far as business and life goes, because everything goes in that. And I have the daily one. So it's like a new fresh sheet every day, which I love. But that would be my number one. But then closely following would be Honeybook for keeping all things, client work streamlined and organized. And then Trello. I've really loved working with you with Trello, and that has really kept us on the same page and like organizing all the thoughts. So if I can pick three, it would be that, but my number one would be my planner and Cultivate the Power Sheets. So Power Sheets for like monthly and yearly, like, goal setting and that type of thing, keeping me like on track and accountable has been really good too. So that's a lot.
I love all this. Do you have like, maybe like one tip or one hack for using either your Simplified Planner, or I'll say Trello or Honeybook, like either one of the three?
Yes, I would say for Simplified Planner, to get the erasable pens, the Frixon erasable pens, that is like one like very practical thing, because if you don't like to have like scratch marks through everything or like white out, then using the erasable pen is great. And also just, going ahead and looking at your months and year ahead and putting in important dates and just kind of like spending a day kind of tending to that and putting in what is going to, birthdays and things like that, and time off that you want to do, and just kind of already having those on the calendar.
I love that. I also use the Pilot Friction pens, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to say it.
Really, really funny side question, which I know some people, have you ever had yours erased because of the heat in Tallahassee?
No. And I'm surprised because it's hot and humid here.
Okay. That's why I feel like mine have survived throughout like Virginia summer heat. But I always wondered, because I think heat is because of the friction, the heat, that's what like erases it, I think. But I love that. They're Florida proof. So
yes,
we can
I haven't had any issues.
Okay.
No issues yet.
That's like a funny side tangent, but I have like a more serious question that I wanted to get your thoughts on, just because I know that you speak up about this on social, and I think that it's a conversation that we need to have more of in the creative industry. But are you willing to share just a little bit about how you have managed maybe burnout or anxiety in the past? I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but any encouragement for anyone out there who's kind of going through a similar season?
Yes. I love that you're asking this and bringing light to it, because I'm really big about like mental health awareness. And, I think that we all have some kind of struggle with something, even if it's not depression or anxiety, maybe like you said, it's burnout or something like that, but just being really aware of, our, like how we're feeling. And so I think it's really good to have somebody to talk to, whether it's a friend, and a personal friend or a business friend, or, a counselor, therapist, just somebody to talk to, just to get things out of your head. Or even like if you like to journal, that might be really good too. And burnout, I think, just really taking a look at what is going on in my life right now. What do I have on my plate? Like, I'm in a season right now where I have a lot of things like personal and business. And so I know that I don't have like the capacity for, as much as I might have in another season. And so being really self-aware of that and knowing what I can do and what I have the capacity for, not what somebody else has the capacity for, is really, really helpful. So just kind of taking a look and giving yourself grace with that, because I think that we just try to put so much pressure on ourselves. And I am so guilty of this. I'm probably the worst person for myself. Like I'm always like, oh, like, keep going, do more. And I'm like constantly having to tell myself like, slow down. Like it's, it's okay. Take a break. It's not worth getting stressed out over, or, spreading myself too thin, because then I'm good for nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I'm the same way where it's like something that I've had to like refine almost like a muscle over the years of being like,
Yeah.
it's okay to take a break. Like things are not going to fall apart or like crumble. If you like take 15 minutes, maybe even like one day to just step aside, take a break, or like an hour or even a day. And it was really funny because recently I was out of the office for almost 2 weeks completely. My cousin got married and then our family was traveling, and I was really, really worried because I hadn't taken that much time off in a really long time, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably since July, when I was still like out of office almost for a whole month, but kind of in and out of my inbox like a little bit. Like, but while I was traveling this past like November, I had like no cell phone signal even really.
Wow.
And I was originally like planning on just, keeping up with posting and stuff. I was going through a bit of a launch, but I was not really able to, just because we hardly had like any cell phone reception at any point. And I was so nervous going into the season, and then coming out the other end of like just that time frame, like everything was totally fine. Like I just came back to running things like as they were. I still like had clients reaching out. I still booked clients, like everything was okay. So it was just a really good reminder again, like towards the end of this year, of being like, it's okay to step away sometimes. Like,
yes, it's probably actually really good. Like you probably came back, and did you feel like more refreshed or like, I think that's huge, because we're so close into our business. It's part of our personal brand and like everyday life, that actually like physically not being able to check in is kind of a good thing sometimes, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to be like, okay, this isn't something that's like tempting me kind of on the side. It was just a very clean like break, and I was able to just really like focus my attention and energy elsewhere. And it was nice to have a bit of a brain break for a little while.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you, but even if I'm not actively working, like sometimes I'll start thinking about stuff in the back of my mind, and then it's just kind of like, it's always there. But it was really, really nice, and I'm planning on trying to take some more time off just like that towards the end of this year, just to like refresh before we dive right into 2022. And check in on do some things that I am like are very holiday related that I haven't had the time to do yet. So I'm super excited about that.
Good for you.
Thank you, Amber.
I love that.
Which I wanted to ask you, like, how do you define self-care throughout the seasons, and kind of what does it look like for you specifically?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I think that a lot of people think self-care is just like, oh, like I'm going to go get my nails done, and I'm going to go get a massage, and whatever. And those things are great. Those things are awesome. But I think also like prioritizing your health and your like mental health as well. And so making sure you're drinking enough water, and moving your body, like simple things like that. And so for me, I really enjoy working out at Pure Barre. So I like to go and take those classes. It's like 50 minutes. And I do it a couple of times a week. And it's just like my time to just like clear my head, and like the music's really loud and it's like upbeat, and it's just like, it's just my time, and I get like a good sweat, and I'm working out, so it's good. So that is one thing that I really do prioritize. And sometimes I think that maybe I am like a bit selfish with my time, because I do like very much so prioritize my self-care, because I know how important it is and how much I need it. So even self-care to me looks like, keeping a somewhat clean house, and like keeping up on top of like, you can't tell right now, like everything's hidden in the corner, but like, I try to like keep up on everything, because for me, that does like help me to feel better, and to, be like more inspired when I have just like a clean space. So I would say that's what self-care is for me.
I love that. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I'm sure our listeners are going to have so much that they can take away from this episode. But if they want to follow along with you online, where can they find you?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome. I am on Instagram at Amber Brogdon Page. And so it's Amber, BROGDON PAGE, and also amberbrogdon.com. And I have a podcast called Cultivate and Celebrate.
And did you want to talk a little bit about the printable membership as well and what that looks like? Just because I know we mentioned it
Yes.
at the beginning.
Yeah. So my digital printable membership is a membership for busy women and busy mamas that want to cultivate a joy-filled life and a simplified home and just make it easy. So inside of the membership, you have access to all of the printables, which are home organization and life and schedule things, but also like really fun things. So
Mhm.
making it easy to celebrate the everyday and the holidays and fun activities with the kids and just stuff to make it really fun. And they're very colorful because I love color. So
Mhm.
it's been fun.
Yeah, well, I will make sure to link all of this in the show notes and in the podcast description. But thank you so much for coming on, Amber.
Thank
And
you,
thank you guys.
Manali. So good to
Yeah.
talk to you.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. If you loved this episode, be sure to check out my free masterclass for photographers to help you book out your wedding photography business this upcoming year. I chat through 3 key tips that you can start implementing today to confidently raise your prices and book those dreamy clients. You can sign up at manaliphotography.com/class, CLASS. I'll see you inside.